Hello everyone, welcome to the lesson Lost Spring by Anish Jung. You must have gone through the intro by now. We'll be dealing with the contextual explanation now. As you know, the story is divided into two parts. This is the explanation of the first part. Moving on.
Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. The story begins with the narrator telling the story about Sahib Alam, a rag picker. Sahib Alam's family left their home a while back. His home was set amidst the green fields of Dhaka, and it is not even a distant memory now. There were many storms that swept away their fields, and that is why they have moved for a better livelihood to the city where he now lives. The narrator asks Sahib, why does he pick rags? To which Sahib responds by saying he doesn't have anything better to do. And then the narrator advises him to go to school, but soon realizes how hollow that advice must have sounded. Sahib says he would then, when they build a school in the neighborhood, he would go there, and the narrator jokingly asks Sahib if he would come to school if she builds, and Sahib seems very excited. Few days later, when Sahib takes a follow up on the progress of the school, which makes the narrator feel guilty of having made a hollow promise. The narrator found out Sahib's name only after months of knowing him, and she tells Sahib doesn't know the meaning of it. Sahib-e-Alam, Lord of the Universe. And he would have a hard time believing it. Sahib roams around with boys who look like him, and the narrator has come to recognize each of them with time, and they all roam about barefoot. The narrator has often seen people roam about barefoot and state it's not the lack of money but a tradition that also acts as an excuse to explain the never ending poverty. The narrator tells us about a story of a man from Udupi. This man, as a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, when the narrator visited his town and the temple, which was now drowned in an air of desolation, this young boy, who was then this young boy, who's now a man, was the one who had prayed for shoes, and now he is having one. But here, it is not the lack of money, but here it's tradition. So that's what the author wants to point out, that it's not essentially that it is out of poverty, it was out of tradition too.
Excuse me, ma'am, as you explained the term air of desolation over here, could you please throw some more light on it? What does air of desolation mean?
See, what I was referring here is 30 years later when the author visited. So then the temple that stood out there does not exist anymore, and it's all barren. I should say. So that is what is desolation stands here for. Being acquainted with these rag pickers, it took the narrator to Simapuri, where the rag pickers live. Simapuri is a place, a slum area in the periphery of Delhi, yet it is miles away from it. Because here there live about 10,000 rag pickers who migrated from Bangladesh back in the year 1971.
Ma'am, as you explained right now that this place was on the periphery of Delhi yet miles away from it, metaphorically, what does this mean? Could you please explain it?
See, the word periphery stands for outskirts of Delhi, and this is a huge slum that has come up. As I explained, that there live 10,000 rag pickers. Now, miles away from it, because there we are talking about the capital city, the New Delhi, and here we have a slum. So, there's a stark difference between the lives of the people at the capital and the lives lived by these rag pickers out here. That is why I said miles away from it.
Ma'am, allegorically speaking, this can again stand just like Mumbai and Dharavi. Is it correct?
Exactly, that's what I meant. Simapuri was then a wilderness, but now it is no more. And they have the roofs of tin and tarpaulin. They are devoid of sewage and drainage and running water. Have an identity, but ration cards that buys them grains. They migrated to India to be able to fill their stomachs, and the source of food is rag picking. Thus, garbage to them is gold. Sahib tells the narrator, "Sometimes I find a rupee." So, this makes the narrator understand why do these children scrounge in the garbage. It means it's a means of wonderment for them. They do it in the hope of finding more. For the adults, it's a means of survival. But for children, it's excitement. Garbage to them is gold. We find Sahib enjoys tennis. At the other time, the author finds him watching a game there. When no one is around, with the help of the guard, he goes to the court. And then the narrator also notices that the other day he was wearing some discarded tennis shoes. He's wearing shoes. The shoes has holes in them. But Sahib is not bothered by it. The narrator says that these shoes are a dream come true for Sahib, but the game of tennis is out of his reach. We are coming to the last part of the story where the narrator notices that Sahib now is walking towards the milk booth with the container. It is revealed that Sahib now works at a tea stall where he's paid rupees 800 and all his meals are covered. Upon being asked if he likes the job, his face goes dull. He is no longer his own master. So that's what the story here ends up with, the life of the young migrants who gradually become rag pickers and then end up getting some work in some stall or somewhere. The narrator also notices that the steel canister is much heavier than the plastic bag he moved about with. He owned that bag, but the canister isn't his. It belongs to the tea stall owner, which means Sahib is no longer his own master.
Ma'am, the last sentence over here where where the narrator notices that Sahib is carrying the canister and canister appears to be heavier than the bag that he used to carry. Is this sentence said in a metaphoric manner or is it true?
See, we do not take this in a literal sense. One may assume that the canister is heavy since he is carrying liters of milk in that. But what here the author implies is that he is now bearing the burden of his own life. He is no longer free, and that is why life has become more burdensome, more heavier for him. That is why she says that it belongs to the tea stall owner, but it is heavier than the bag he used to carry earlier.
That will be all for this video. In the next video, we will be covering up the summary of the second part of the story. Thank you.